Welcome to a very special Thursday edition of the UR Team Number Facebook Group's Amazing Race podcast. My name is Michael Harmstone, and I am joined, as ever, by the guy to whom Jinder quoted the poet of our time, Pitbull, when he said, "Logue, you can tweet me or my sister, Logan Saunders, in a new house." You can speak, Logan. Logan, speak. I think he's on a delay. Yay!
Good morning.
Finally. Bloody hell, that was long. If you want to get in contact with us during the next
Yes,
hour, you can comment on this video if you're watching on the YouTube channel. There's always a Q&A on the Google Plus page, and you can get your opinions in on the Facebook group, which is linked in the video description. Alternatively, tweet us using the hashtag YattonCast, which you can see whenever I speak. So, good episode, Logan. Hopefully the delay's gone.
I would say so. I believe it was. I'm starting to notice that there's a very specific structure to each episode of Amazing Race Canada where, with last episode, they had a Buddha ceremony, then that's a task that involved having a certain number of attempts to complete it that is somewhat subjective. And we saw the same thing here this week, where it was a Buddha ceremony, and then the tasks that involved subjective judging with several tasks. So, Race Canada's route can become a bit predictable for each episode.
I like the fact that they did have two active route infos this week, at least. There was a little bit of variety in that. We didn't have a structure where it was a ridiculously obvious who was going home, at least, or wasn't going home in this case. But it's nice to see the active route infos coming back. The same as to Ben about 20 minutes ago. They don't send teams to a place and then just another place to pick up a clue. They actually have to do something to earn their clue, which is nice.
Yeah, I would agree.
So, shall we get into it?
And what is it with always having Macau whenever years in the season of the Amazing Race? It's like if you get one without the other whenever you visit one of those cities in the Amazing Race.
There was one particular thing that I was going to mention later, but I'm pretty sure Macau Tower now has the single highest number of route markers ever in one place. It's a ridiculous amount. Every time they come through, there is the bungee jump. They've had a yield there. Every time they end up jumping off the tower in some capacity. And it's pretty hilarious to see, actually. Because every time they go
I believe
out,
two yields there. Two yields.
Yeah, well, there's the one in All Stars. There was one in Asia as well, wasn't there? If I'm not mistaken.
So I think Henry and Bane were yielded.
Well, Amazing Race Asia 3 had two route markers of its own there as well. Hilariously. Two separate
Yeah,
legs.
back-to-back rounds are like, they just couldn't get away from Macau Tower. Well, the first draw mark was completely because they were jumping. And they said, nope, you're not jumping. Then the next time, the very next round, they said, okay, one of you is actually going to have to jump.
Yeah, we're being a little bit dickish now. Oh, that was a slightly.
And nobody got struck by lightning this time, by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's nice to see for them. It's pretty impressive how the Canadian one can stump to 8 people bungee jumping when even the Great Amazing Race 23 could only stump to 2 at most.
Yeah.
So we had a ridiculous amount of teams actually mentioned in the intro this week as well. It was Jinder shouting, Elaine and Audrey's meltdown, Natalie and Megan's express pass, Pierre and Michelle's sneakiness, Mickey and Pete getting deceived by them, and Laura and Jackie sucking at the last leg that were all mentioned. 6 teams of 9.
They made zero deal over Laura and Jackie's vegetarian ways entering the roadblock, though, which somewhat surprised me. They didn't say, and Laura or Jackie, whoever completed the roadblock, gave out 15 years of being a vegetarian for absolutely no reason at all.
If I'm not mistaken, Jackie was the blonde one, and she did the roadblock. I'm pretty sure
Okay.
because Laura's surname's Takahashi, I think, and she's the Asian one, so it would make sense. Unless I'm
It
being
doesn't
massively
really
faked
matter
out.
anyway
No,
because they're both
they're out of the race anyway. We don't care about them anymore. Bye.
pretty irrelevant to the whole season,
Yeah, pretty much.
even in the first 3 rounds.
Um, did you notice that John gave another description of Hong Kong this week? I think I've mentioned it to you. I'm pretty sure I know what the final memory challenge is going to be now, because every greeter up until this
Can,
point
can
had
we,
described their city in a weird way. Because we had British Columbia's beautiful capital, then the end of the line in Tofino, and then Hong Kong was the city of life, if I'm not mistaken. Having said that, we didn't get one for Macau.
is Las Vegas the city of
Well,
death?
apparently, pretty much. Apparently, Hong Kong is Asia's global city, according to John.
Or
I must say, John has vastly improved as a host this year as well.
actually, that might be.
Yeah, John is so much of a better host this year than he was last year. He's actually settled into the job, which is nice.
Can we just appreciate John's delivery of quoting directly quoting Carl Show? I've quoted Carl Douglas so much in the past 3 years that it was fun to see somebody else take the reins and just incorporate the lyrics of Kung Fu Fighting into The Amazing Race.
I meant to mention that. That was probably the greatest intro we've had for years. Where teams were kung fu fighting, and for Elena Dede,
Yes,
it was a little bit
Hong
frightening.
Kong Fu Fighting.
Oh, he's such a legend. I
Which
pray
is
that
why Carl Douglas could never be Quebecois.
I hope and pray that he actually wrote his own intros there, because that is a spot on, brilliant intro to have. If he didn't, I'll be very disappointed. What a ledge. We finally got a mention of the Express Pass needs to be given away by the next leg as well this week. Finally. After 3 weeks of us going, are they
yeah,
actually
it's
gonna...
finally relevant to the storyline. Has anybody ever waited till the? Has anybody ever
Has
waited till
anyone
the
waited?
last round possible to give away their express pass?
Well, the double Express Pass has only been in the US and the Canadian seasons, as far as I know. Kristen and Darren gave theirs out pretty early, I seem to remember. Jessica and John gave theirs out
Second
in
round?
leg 2, yeah. Pretty sure.
No, Cowboys did second round as well.
Yeah, the Cowboys were second round, but
And Kristen and Darren were round 3.
Um,
And I believe that's all the double express passes that's ever occurred in the Amazing Race.
I thought there was one more, but I might be wrong. After you look it up, because I'm pretty sure there's one more that I've forgotten. I can't remember which one it is. Whether I'm wrong here is another story.
But yeah, it's just weird that I think Natalie and Megan just aren't very strategic minded when it comes to when it just comes to gaming in general. I think they're very just sports mind. They're going to be their downfall or patience. I think so. I guess they're really patient here with that. I don't think they really analyze and think through a situation before acting accordingly.
I knew there was one more. Tim and Marie gave their express pass to Nicole and Travis at the start of the 5th leg, so that's the latest currently. And it looks like Natalie and Megan will give theirs out.
Was that the bribery?
At the start of the 5th leg.
The blackmail.
Yeah, that was the tell us where. I knew it was Nicole and Travis who got it.
I did not mean to put up on there.
Yeah, whatever. You're in a pun-friendly place, Logan. You don't have to worry about pun slinging around here. But yeah, it looks like Natalie and Megan will be giving out their express pass at the start of the 5th leg as well. Did you notice the slight change in the starting clue this leg as well? Instead of receiving Canadian dollars, they received Hong Kong dollars.
Yes, 2,400
yes,
of them.
Hong Kong dollars.
Is that a lot?
Which, according to yesterday's figures, was 338 Canadian dollars.
That's a pretty big budget to send teams around Macau.
I love that you ask these things and then I immediately have the right answer. Yes, preempting you. Always good when I can get away with that. But yeah, that was a reasonably high amount. It's got to be up there for. It's got to be up there in terms of the most they've ever given away.
Outside of the Russia leg in Moscow, where it seems like teams need $700 or $800 gajillion just to survive 3 taxi rides.
Well, they don't tend to go above about $500 and Canadians pretty much at parity, isn't it? But they don't tend to go above about 500 if they're going to do a massive one.
Yeah, so, it's not like just blogging Amazing Race 15 where I just finished the Czech Republic leg and they gave teams $0. It's not even the $1 trick, just 0. I thought that was mean and just an unnecessary budget cut there.
To be fair, you don't really need that much to get around in Prague, from my experience. But yeah, it was a little bit cruel, at least. But the best part of $340 is quite a high amount. Now, you know, last week we berated Natalie and Megan for using their Express Pass. Might not have been a bad idea. Did you notice the departure times?
They were over an hour ahead?
Yeah, it was 1 hour and 5 between them and second place, which was Cormac and Nicole in this case. Everyone else was like an hour between them. Ish.
Is that their biggest lead?
1 hour and 5. Yeah, as far as I know, they were definitely very much ahead. It might not have been the worst idea in the world for them to have used it, especially with the unaired double U-turn, which no one's allowed to confirm, of course, but we all know happened.
That's messed up that they didn't even want to show it on there because
come on, we love
an unused double U-turn is very worthwhile to show on TV, even if a team used it to or turning somebody from that's not even on their season. Just so the viewers know a few seconds to explain it, and then you don't have to again for the rest.
Especially if it was involved with Suki and Jinder, because you know they're getting the absolute dumb edit. They're getting the stupid people edit, or the lovable stupid people edit. I know we've both had contacts with separate Atwell siblings this week. But come on, if they U-turned someone who was ahead of them, of course they had to show it. That's like the fun bit. Where I can just come on here and go, haha, oh, we love you, Suki and Jinder, so much. Despite you being a little bit dumb.
Yeah. It's like an Amazing Race 15 where,
if it comes out,
they unaired the U-turn there where Lance and Kerry U-turned Sam, who were 4 places ahead of them at the time, which is just downright hilarious. I couldn't believe that didn't make TV, because it'd make Lance that much more of an amusing character, because he was already a huge character back then as the season aired, where everything went wrong for him because he had poor judgment.
Well, they showed Kent and Vixen U-turning Nicholas and Donald, who were ahead of them in India.
That was when Kent and Vixen were eliminated, though. So it makes the show because it was film, especially when they had Nathan and Jennifer just 10 things behind them or work case.
Yeah, they should air every U-turn. It only takes 2 seconds for us to laugh at them. Canadian episodes are slightly longer anyway.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Margie Adams from Amazing Race All Stars in 14 and whatever else crap she was on. Maybe she was the one who took it out because she didn't want teams laughing at them.
Yeah, they come on this podcast and they're laughing at them. From the tweets that Jinder has favorited of mine, I'm pretty sure that he's seen the podcast and actually quite enjoys us being a little bit mean. I mean, it's loving mean rather than, my hey should have Brenshaw from last season.
Well, if he's seen Amazing Race Canada 20 times, then maybe he's seen the other seasons at least 5 to 10 times and probably gets our obscure references. And Hopefully. Who knows, maybe he reads my blogging crap as well and says, oh yeah, right, Margie's laughing at him.
Everyone reads your blogging crap. It's like a legal requirement if you're an Amazing Race fan. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So,
did you notice another pun that John made at the start of the episode, where as soon as he was going to introduce Hong Kong, but after he said Hong, then a gong played in the background, so it's no longer Hong Kong, it's Hong Gong.
Hashtag Hong Gong.
Yes, Hong Gong.
I didn't notice that, but the editors are having so much fun with John this season. I think you can tell that production is a lot more confident this season. They weren't sure whether Amazing Race Canada 1 would work out or not. And
I love how no one knows he's an Olympian. But everyone knows reality TV. It shows how much people truly care about Olympians. It's like the hockey I've never heard of him before Amazing Race Canada. I didn't even heard of Megan either. That apparently there's somewhat superstars for being honest. Like, who cares? Who cares about Olympics?
The difference is that if he continues on the path he's going, by the end of the season, he's going to be more famous for being the most up-for-it host of the Amazing Race ever, rather than an Olympian. Rather than walking down the streets of Whistler, chugging a pitcher of beer, and all that sort of stuff. He's on track to be. I was saying this to Jess Lees. Each Amazing Race host has a different personality because you've got Phil, who's probably the dad of the group. You've got bitter uncle Grant Bowler. What was the? I can't remember what the exact term I used was. It was where was it? There was descriptions of them as an entire family, basically. I'll see if I can find. There it is. We had John as a sort of cool uncle who'll do anything. Grant's the pissed off granddad, and Woo's the dad who looks way too young. In terms of Amazing Race.
Alan Wu was.
She said he has a disappointed dad.
I can't say that enough. I just want puns.
Yeah.
I mean, I love my puns. I've been making puns ever since hanging around you. Alan Wu is the king of puns. I mean, when I could be Prince of Puns, Alan Wu is the king.
He's the disappointed dad of puns. I mean, I love a good pun, but Alan Wu beats me. And also well known for the Woof Beater.
The Woof Beater, yes.
Hashtag Woof Beater. So, We had.
Let's actually talk about this episode here, right?
We probably should now. It's 3:25. So we had two ferries. We had Natalie and Megan, Cormac and Nicole, Ryan and Rob, and Pierre and Michelle leaving at 4, and Mickey and Pete, Andre, Rex and Bob, and Suki and Gender at 4:30. And teams had to.
Turbojet.
Yep, the traditional turbojet ferry that always appears in the Hong Kong and Macau legs. When teams had to head to the Alma Temple and perform an ancient ceremony meant to ward off evil spirits, which was, of course, lighting fireworks. This being China, we want stereotypes, boys.
Where's the Zodiacs?
Exactly.
Where's the Zodiacs this time? I always look forward to the Zodiac task.
I was shocked they did not end up having a roadblock with the Zodiac task. I mean, that might happen next leg. They might have the roadblock and then flying to the Yukon, but that is an amazing race classic task that they always do in Macau and always do in the same place in Macau, the Alma Cultural Village. So, yeah, they actually surprised us a little bit, which is nice.
Did you notice Pierre and Michel's accent faux pas of the week?
I've got one for the detour with them.
Okay, well here's the first one. Because, we had Natalie and Megan depart in first, Cormac and Nicole departing in second, and thinking that for some reason they have a shot at finishing first for once. And then Pierre and Michelle say that they're departing in the third position this week. So there's first, second.
To be fair,
apparently third doesn't exist.
This was not the worst thing they did this leg. Could we have predicted 4 weeks ago when we did the cast preview podcast
and we find out it was
that
also
Pierre and Michelle would be our villains?
Natalie and Megan.
Yeah, they've finally brought up that they were champion skiers, which I know I mentioned in the preview, but I would not have predicted 4 weeks ago that Pierre and Michelle, or Pierre and the Michelles, as they're known on the. Yeah, I couldn't have predicted they would be our first villainous team. I mean, all good Amazing Race seasons have two villainous teams. The really villainous team and then the sort of secondary, slightly bitchy, annoying evil team. Amazing Race Australia 2 had that, definitely. But I would probably say at the moment it's Pierre and the Michelles and then Rex and Bob. Rex and Bob certainly aren't redeemable teams at the moment, or a redeemable team.
Yeah, I don't think the secondary
villains are actually increasing, which is fun.
Yeah, it's only episode 4, but I noticed that they wanted to get Pierre and Michelle a big edit ever since the second episode, because they had this weird confessional where they talked for about 30 seconds. And now in episode 3 and 4, we suddenly get them doing some dirty tactics.
I suspect the winners edit started this week because there's one team that had got a major increase in edit this week, and a positive edit at that. But we'll get to that. Natalie and Megan and Pierre and the Michelles were both shown defying taxi etiquette when they finally landed in Macau as well.
Yeah, just straight up cutting in line.
Yeah.
They use their hockey stardom to cut lines and cut a taxi line in Hong or Macau.
I don't even think
Pierre and Michelle.
I don't think
it was relentless.
I think they just wanted to get ahead. They had a record to defeat this week.
Pierre and Michelle were owned by Cormac's mother of all people.
I'm a mama hen. I will always wave my finger in your face. It did have shades of Alicia from Survivor Australia, didn't it? I will always wave my finger in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
this
week
I've seen you cutting in the flipping taxis.
They really wanted to set up Pierre and Michelle as the villains this week, though. They must be getting a fall at some point, because all good villainous teams get a fall.
Yeah, they will just come up just short at the finish line, most likely.
Almost certainly. Um, so once firecrackers went out, teams were sent, as I mentioned, to an Amazing Race classic location, and they sighted more route markers than any other place in the entire world, the Macau Tower, which was utterly predictable. I know I sent it to you when it was officially confirmed, but so predictable they were going there.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to miss Macau Tower when you visit there. It's really the only reason why Amazing Race ever goes there. It's just
Highest bungee jump in the world, 764 foot.
use that tower, just in the world.
I must admit, I'm surprised they have never been to Toronto and done the skywalk on top of the CN Tower.
Until the Ouija Tower.
Yeah, that seems like the sort of thing that they would love to do if they went to Toronto, is do the CN Tower skywalk and make them hang over the edge of the CN Tower, which is friggin' high. Because that'd be the sort of equivalent, I suppose, in North America. Sure. The roadblock, as I nicknamed it, Who Wants to Channel Tom Petty and be free falling. But it was Who Wants a Better View of the City or something, they said, didn't they? Which is a bit of a lame clue, but at least it was slightly less obvious than last week.
You can't really. You're against the world's tallest design a roadblock. Let me say. And good, they know what they're gonna do here anyway.
Here's the thing: if I was ever in charge of doing a Macau leg for the Amazing Race, I would take them to the Macau Tower and then troll the shit out of them. I'd go, you know what? You want to bungee jump? Tough. You're doing something else, something much more fun.
An indoor juggling competition on like the second floor.
Yeah, make them go all the way up to the platform and then have to, spot a flag or something. do a London Items for season 7. Just be slightly mean. But that's my sense of humour more than anything, isn't
it?
Yeah. So we had Megan, the Michelles, Cormac, Rob, Jinder, Mickey, Rex, and Audrey doing the roadblock. And Elena.
Does that mean Natalie was the one who vomited the first week?
Certainly was. #Olympian puke. Yeah, Natalie did do the.
So no vomit this week.
No, sadly, they seem to be letting Megan do all the tasks that Natalie should be puking at. I want a puke counter on every week. Yeah. I want it to go up from 17.
Yeah, a puke counter.
Yeah.
It's like it's because Natalie said she puked 17 times in the first episode, so I think this week was the first time that Mickey and Pete's stoked counter finally surpassed that.
Stoked.
I would just like to say that Mickey and Pete may be. This is kind of mean to say, but I think they've ultimately proven to be casting duds after the first 4 episodes. I don't think their edit is going to pick up any more than right now, but you can just tell that editors don't really know what to do with them because they never really. They have a very narrow vocabulary on screen. They don't elaborate too well with situations, and they never really have. Even when something exciting happens to them, like Pierre and Michelle misdirecting them in the previous episode,
it's like, oh, dude.
They really don't have much of a reaction to it other than to throw out a line, and they don't even provide that much comedy either. So I'm very puzzled as to why they were cast.
I'm disappointed because I did say in the cast preview they were the only ones that actually made me laugh in the bios, but they're getting a woo edit from Survivor Kaga. They're going to get to the end, but they're not going to win, looking at the edit, because they're just background players.
Yeah, I'm expecting them to go fairly soon. I'd be amazed if they make it to top 4 at this point.
I think they honestly wanted to make them the new Cowboys, and you'll see this with Australia 1. There was a team, Matt and Tom, who were cast to be the Cowboys. They actually are Cowboys. And they got the lovable country bumpkin edit, but Mickey and Pete are not living up to it. That's the thing. Matt and Tom did very well, but Mickey and Pete they're currently sitting in equal fourth in the rankings.
I noticed that they played I have this somewhere in my notes. I'm not exactly sure when, but they did play the Jet and Cord Cowboy music at some point during the episode. I just forget for who it was, but I noticed it playing in the background suddenly because we all know I always know whenever they pick unusual soundtrack.
Well, after last season when the
choices.
Cowboys...
Yeah, one probably in that podcast here, but I do have that in my notes.
After last season, when the Gay Cowboys went out so early, they were obviously looking for another team to fulfill the Cowboy legacy, I suppose, of being sort of out of town or countryside, not being well-travelled and wide-eyed, bushy-tailed. But I don't think Mickey and Pete are doing enough to show themselves. I think if production could show them, they would, because they are reasonably funny when they want to be. They made me laugh in their bio, which no other team did, despite me being very much on the Suki and Jinder train at the moment in terms of hilarity, or unintentional hilarity.
I did notice a couple of amusing moments at the start of the episode where Alan was mugging for the camera right when he was leaving the pit stop and saying a bunch of words and then doing parkour over the rails.
Yeah.
And then Rex and Bob saying that they both have their stressful moments and they always get through it. But it seems like the only way that they cope with stressful moments is by quitting everything that gets thrown at them.
Hey, they have not quit for 2 legs now. I'm very proud of them.
And then, like, Suki and Jinder are saying that they were coming repeatedly, which just disgusted me. I'm thinking, how did that make it to on air? And then one of them says, so, yeah. And then Jinder hugging the hockey player and not suddenly asking for the rest. Wow, that was a real sincere hug.
Suki and Jinder are by far getting the dodo edit, but I want them to stick in there just because they are providing such unintentional hilarity. I mean, Jinder was the perfect choice for the bungee jump. I screenshotted Jinder's face because of how good he was on the bungee jump.
Yeah.
That was one of many screen caps I could have got.
I think that's just the same face he'll make whenever he has to return to into him.
Yeah, he's just a ledge. And I hope they stick around I hope they can defy the speed bump, because, you know, it'll be a disappointing week when they go.
Yeah. I wish that the Express Pass wouldn't be given out till round 8, 7, or 8, just so that Suki and Jinder can have another series of not so subtle, but they think it's subtle tactics of asking for the Express Pass. I just think that would be hilarious.
I'm pretty sure they've seen a lot of seasons of The Amazing Race, and they know what they're doing. And
I would think so. Yeah.
It's exactly what we want.
Mm-hmm.
Is to see them knowing what they're doing.
Do you notice that Megan said one of the dumber things I've heard all week?
What was that?
Where at the Buddha ceremony, lighting the firecrackers, and she said, and she was just talking. Of course, it's going to sound like gunshots because firecrackers have these firecrackers of gunpowder in them. Shots.
Yeah, I think that was a very cultural task, shall we say. It was put there to show one of Macau's more famous industries, so they didn't just have to rely on gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Do you notice Natalie and Megan's massively awful product placement in the when they got their Roadblock clone? They went up to desk and went, "We need 1 ticket to jump with our Scotiabank Amex card," or Amex card, as she actually called it.
Oh, no, I did not. But
Ryan and Rob did it unintentionally when they
it's
opened
about
their.
as subtle as Under Armour.
Oh, it's my hatred of the Under Armour product placement that is ridiculous, especially in season 24. But yeah, they're really shoehorning the
At
card.
least it's not as blatant as Standard Chartered.
I think it is at times actually, because we had Ryan and Rob when they opened their clue. They said you got 2,400 Hong Kong dollars on your Scotiabank Amex card. Massive flashing lights. But I think that was more unintentional product placement, whereas Natalie and Megan were told to do that 100%. I don't think
Pete looked really high.
Pete always looks high.
But this week, I just even wrote that in my notes saying, wow. Oh, Pete looks absolutely baked. Did he score that pot on the ferry? What was it? Because he just looked baked for the night leg. It was... Never seen anybody look so dazed and out of it on the Amazing Race before.
Well, maybe
not since Don and Mary Jean stole that car in Amazing Race 6 have I seen a team so out of
maybe they just went down a back street or got a stash while they were trying to find the Macau Tower. Maybe they ran originally like Alain and Audrey. Maybe they decided to do a 45-minute run to the Macau Tower instead of finding a reasonably easy taxi. Which was stupid. Can I just point out?
Somebody gave it 110% of Roadblock. I'm not sure who, though.
No, neither am I. Cormac Nicole got a weird Roadblock edit as well. Because we had Cormac saying, whatever you say is safe. And
where Nicole was more flustered?
Yeah, Nicole was flustered, mentioning lightheadedness, despite the fact that Cormac didn't have much trouble jumping. Which was odd to me.
I feel bad for Cormac, because he's probably going to have all these unintentional childhood secrets that his mother's probably going to reveal on air, like, don't drink too... If Cormac drinks too much soda today, he's going to have a big stomachache. And just little embarrassing things like that would be hilarious.
Cormac, don't run too hard, you might soil your pants. Did you hear about NBC's live musical version of Peter Pan?
He never remembers to wipe his feet when he enters the house.
I thought you were going to say something else then. Yeah, did you hear about NBC's live musical of Peter Pan later in the year? How they did the casting announcement. Well, it ends up that the lady playing Peter Pan is the daughter of famed American newscaster Brian Williams, who was doing the NBC News last night on The Story, and actually said family members say that she's been training for the part since she was young, and then put up a childhood photo of her dressed as Peter Pan.
Oh.
What a legend.
Brian Williams is a newscaster? I thought he was a hardcore gangster rapper.
He is a hardcore gangster rapper, as well as being managing editor of NBC News and the presenter as well. And an absolute ledge. The times he's been on The Soup, he's been amazing. Him and Greg Kelly, New York's two greatest legends. Did you notice who the odd one out with the bungee jumping was? One person decided to do something different.
Rex. He actually did something, right? He was even plugging his ears before doing it?
Rex actually did something, but Rob went backwards. Rob decided to backflip off the Macau Tower for some reason.
The John tactic from Amazing Race 4.
Yeah. He decided to, go backwards for some reason. Which I was like, what? What are you doing? I mean, you wouldn't do that unless you were told to. Or I wouldn't. It's just an odd decision.
You're only going to jump from Macau Tower once, though.
Yeah, true.
If you're only going to jump from Macau Tower once, why not do it in style?
Unless you're Natalie and Megan and choose to use your Air Canada flight to Hong Kong and then fly back to Macau, go over to Macau again.
Right.
Why did Mickey drop Trow?
So what about this happiness tree?
Because he's happy. Or tacky in that case. Yeah, they had to find a shop that sells almond cookies. Nice generic clue there. But of course,
Almond cookie man, you crazy.
But of
Chappelle
course,
Show reference.
it made for some amazing season 9 references. It's the return of Fran and Barry's clue box.
Yep. Who recently has been missing clues in like the later seasons of Amazing Race?
Well, of course, we had 2 teams do it this time. We had Suki.
Like we had Margie Location in Amazing Race 14.
Yeah, we had Suki and Jinder. We've got Elena and RJ, both missing.
And now we have Suki and Jinder, most recent victims of that.
Hmm. But
They just blend so naturally with the almond cookie. It's essentially a clue, making the band clue. Just because in Making the Band a parody on Chappelle's Show, they were supposed to go to Queens and find Puff Daddy a sugar cookie, and now here they have to actually go and find an almond cookie for the Amazing Race. So I got endless.
I must, of course, thank the super wackiest blog in the universe for giving me the Fran and Barry screenshot, because that made my life so much easier, just finding out what episode it was, looking at your blog. Magic! It's down below!
Ooh! A plug! I got a plug!
You got a plug!
Oh no!
Where's it gone?
It's gone. Oh.
I'll put it back on in a minute. Where is it? There it is. So yeah, if you really want to satisfy your nerd...
Standard Chartered and Under Armour combined.
Yes, your blog is our Scotiabank Amex card, or Amex card, as one of Natalie and Megan called it.
Yes. Each episode teams receive two of my episode blogs on their card.
Yeah. No, they receive it on a generic tablet, so they can read it on the traveling.
Right.
You have 3 Super Kaweki blogs for this leg of the race.
And I'll take them 2 hours to read it, probably.
Well, yeah. Well, they gotta give them something to do in the middle of flights and ferries and stuff, haven't they? So the Olympians and the Forges formed Team Elite Athlete in searching for the clue in Happiness Street, which Pharrell Williams would have loved.
Yeah, definitely.
And of course, we had the detour, which was, of course, Stamp It, or according to the Forges, Stump It. Stamp it or stump it. Stump it.
Stump it.
Stump it as in rhyme with trumpet.
A trumpet? You mean Lou Bega? I'm waiting for a Lou Bega detour.
Yes, you must find all the women that Lou Bega mentioned. Yes, you must receive a talisman from all the ladies that Lou Bega mentioned in his song.
Yes.
Coincidentally, can you name them, Logan?
We're already. I think we're already at 750. I think we have to go on with the episode rather than try to recall every. name of each woman mentioned in the bag.
Of course, it was Angela,
I like
Pamela,
how Peter
Sandra,
supplied
Rita.
the clue because they smell the.
Well, yeah. Well, I think that was sort of the deliberate clue. Yes, here's some food stuff that will smell very strongly, maybe like cyanide. Smell the almonds, guys. But for the record, it was Angela, Pamela,
I'm surprised you
Sandra.
didn't get a screen cap of Mickey doing the jump in a leopard.
No, I didn't. I decided to try and cut back on the screen caps just in case I couldn't source them. But we have, of course, got Jinder, the Miss Box, Rob doing it backwards, that sort of stuff. But it was Angela, Pamela, Sandra, Rita, Monica,
We didn't need a
Erica,
leopard
Rita.
speedo.
We didn't know. I really do not want a picture of Mickey in a leopard speedo on my computer because that would be creepy. What would anyone who looks at my computer say? Oh, why have you got a guy in a thong? Yeah. And the detour descriptions are, of course, taken from Wikipedia, which I was the one who edited it, so it's kind of all right. So in Stamp It, teams had to make their way to the ruins of St. Paul's, where they would pick up a scroll. They then had to search the streets around Senado Square, looking for 6 shrines marked with one of 6 ancient Chinese symbols. To each station, they had to mark their scroll with a stamp in ink. Once they returned to the ruins of St. Paul with their 6 stamps on their scroll, they would receive their next clue. And in Stump It, teams had to head to Senado Square and join a Macanese folk dance troupe and learn a complicated routine. Once the instructor was happy with their efforts, she would hand them their next clue.
Mason Race Canada loves their choreography, what can I say?
Yeah, it really does. I think they honestly put that in to try and give Rex a chance. And he sucked twice. I don't think we've ever had a racer who has a background in 2 of the detours.
Did you notice that the Stamp It detour? Yeah. Did you notice that the Stamp It detour option was pretty much just blatantly copied from the Madagascar roadblock in Amazing Race 10?
Well, yeah. There's only certain amounts of things that they can do, though, isn't there? I sort of let them off from copying tasks from years and years and years ago.
I'm sure they don't even. I'm sure none of the producers even watched Amazing Race 10.
I'm not sure with Amazing Race Canada, actually. They're better at it than the American ones are, at least. I'll give them that. I mean, it looks like the Australian producers have been watching season 5 with their route.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't exactly put it past them. And this was about the point where we got the infamous quotes from the Forges. If Natalie and Megan don't give us the express pass by the end of the leg tomorrow, they will be U-turned. I'm not sure which one of them said it, but
That's quite the threat. I've never seen that before, where a team is like, if they don't accept our generosity with giving us something invaluable in return, then we're gonna screw them over.
Yeah.
Just as if it's like, wow, these are the most entitled people I've ever heard of in my life.
Yeah, the difference is they said it in an interview with the producer. They did not say it at any point to Natalie and Megan.
No, they've definitely got more sneakiness up their sleeves. Although it's a bit more subtle than stealing taxis or misdirecting teams in Hong Kong.
Yeah, if they actually wanted it to happen and not, use the excuse to just U-turn them, given that they're by far the strongest team in the race, they probably should have said it to the actual team. Use it as a threat like Nicole did. That's what I would have done personally, but I'm not an evil genius.
Do you notice that Yeah. Am I the only one that's finding the whole cross-dressing thing for any dancing detour or task to be getting really old? It's like the Amazing Race Canada producers just strictly watched Bugs Bunny cartoons when they were younger and just never grew out of them, thought that cross-dressing was the funniest thing ever.
There is one reason and one reason only they do the cross-dressing. Screen caps. so I can just...
offended by how much fun that Amazing stand-up. A plug for Ryan's stand-up comedy act. What do you know? I'm sure that stand-up comedy act is absolutely hilarious.
His official job title is bartender and YouTube sketch comic. And what do you know? He dresses in drag a lot. This is where I must point out Ryan and Rob are getting a winner's edit at this point. There is no way that a team can be that invisible in the first 2 weeks and then go from being basically the biggest amount of airtime for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I really noticed their edit picked up too, because I couldn't really care less about them, but yet they were still being shoved in front of my face, so they must be important to some sort of storyline. Maybe they're going to be shown as the good guys that counter Pierre and Michelle. And oh my god, I can't believe that Ryan has more views for his YouTube sketch comedy than our podcast do, because at least we have some talent on it.
Ooh, burn! starting a feud here. A you feud. But yeah, they were mentioned like 6 times.
Why am I feuding with every team
more than any other team? I have no idea. Although Suki and Jinder are from BC, aren't they? You're not feuding with them, ish.
But I mean, I thought I would be making fun of the Quebecois teams much more than the BC teams. But I feel like I'm mocking and just relentless with my fellow British Columbian. Yeah, you're covering the Quebecois hate, that's for sure.
To be fair, as you pointed out... well, it's not hate, it's mocking them for not being able to pronounce anything whatsoever. Like stamp it or stump it. As well as the fact that, you know, the Quebecers are the French that even Canada hates. As opposed to, you know, the French that England hates.
Yes.
On that note, a plumber from... Yeah, a plumber from England decided to build
Nellie Megan's biggest weakness is doing, and then they just finished it on the third. No, that's not really much of a weakness. They succeeded on the third try.
Irony. Yeah, on the note of England not liking the French, a plumber from southern England decided to build a 16-foot backside and try and fart at France last week. I am not making this up. There is video evidence to prove it. He's a little bit crazy. This is the same guy who decided to build working Wolverine claws, for example. That sort of thing. For some reason, his latest project was trying to fart at France from across the English Channel.
That's one of the dumb... things I've heard of him.
To be fair, this guy is equal parts crazy and amazing. He's insane.
Oh, yeah.
He's actually 100% cray-cray, but, you know, kind of fun cray-cray rather than actual cray-cray. He just gets random projects for some reason.
Okay, let's move on.
Just one last point on the dance detour. Did you notice that Rex was apparently the best partner any ballerina has had, and he still sucked at the dance detour? You know, as usual, whenever you see
I'm sure everyone at home will be very sorry about it.
Whenever you see a preview like that, or a VT like that, you know it's going to happen. You know they're going to suck and get knocked back multiple times. And it's going to be hilarious. And spot on, I was right.
I can't believe they do well this week.
Yeah. So once teams finally finished the detour task, they were sent to the Grand Lapa Hotel and had to learn to correctly deal one hand of Fantan to receive their next clue.
I played a lot of card games and do plenty of games. I've never heard of that card game before.
Well, I think
Before.
they deliberately tried to pick an obscure one so that no one would have any history with it. Because if you pick like poker or something, obviously people are going to rush through that task and it won't be as fun. The whole fun of it was the chance that people could actually catch up if
Exactly goes.
you worked out the rules.
Do they have a 25%
they seem to
chance
actually
of
be
getting it right?
thinking
Do they
about
just
their
have to
tasks,
guess
which is-
1, 2, 3, or 4?
Yeah, I think they do, from what I heard of it. I really don't understand it myself, but from what I understand, it's how many buttons are left when they pull the stick across. But surely the dealer would be able to just rig that. If they knew their friend was at a table, they'd just be able to go, "Oh, shocker! My friend keeps winning."
I like how Natalie and Megan did not understand the concept of a push. Even after they figure out what it's supposed to do, the word push doesn't even enter their minds when explaining it. I found that absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, something tells me that that Natalie and Megan probably don't spend much time in a casino.
Nope. Too much time on the rink.
Yeah. Cormac and Nicole, however, seem to. As to Rex and Bob, actually. Bob said he had a history with poker, didn't he?
Yeah, Bob did, yeah. I think Bob and I have had a similar time growing up, that's for sure.
What, playing poker at Christmas?
Yeah.
And as usual, Natalie and Megan worked it out pretty quickly and were sent to probably the most difficult pit stop we've had for a while. They had to search Macau's underground passages for a hidden entrance to Plaza Ferreira Amarel, which looked like a roundabout to me. And in a record-setting fourth time in a row, Natalie and Megan won the leg. They become the first team ever in Amazing Race history of 53 seasons to win the first 4 legs in a row. Not even.
They didn't Romber choke it?
Nope. Romber choked it. Mark and Rollerson didn't win the first leg. Eric and Jeremy got beaten in one of the legs, didn't they?
Fourth leg, I think, because they won the Russia leg.
Yeah, Dave Chull didn't pull it out either. Eric and Jeremy lost in the second leg, by the way. BJ and Tyler won that one. Natalie and Megan become the first team ever to win the first 4 legs, which is actually an impressive record. They might not have any personality whatsoever, but they are good racers.
Isn't that usually how it goes, though, when you examine Amazing Race's history with teams like Dave and Rachel, and then Tyler and James, and Tammy, and don't really carry themselves too well on screen, or even into teams.
Dave and Rachel are probably the exception to that rule because they were quite...
I guess Dave and Rachel had some personally, but Tyler and James were just bland.
Dave and Rachel were argumentative as hell with each other. But yeah, other than that, they do tend to be quite boring teams who end up winning a lot of legs.
Which makes sense, because if you're bland and not really arguing with each other, then you're bound to do well.
Yeah. We had probably the best prize of the season so far as well, a trip in premium economy to Tokyo, Japan, and $3,000 on their hashtag product placement card.
Yes. I love how Natalie compared
jumped to second, Rex and Bob in third. Fourth was Cormac and Nicole.
No task to us, and points without coupon.
Yeah. Cormac and Nicole were fourth. Pierre and the Michelles were fifth. Mickey and Pete sixth. Elena and Adre in seventh. And our podcast favourites, Suki and Jinder, were last but they were not eliminated, which is nice.
Yeah, I predict that would be the excuse. There was a team that was suddenly getting a bunch of personal information revealed about them, much more so than other teams. So the only thing that makes sense is for the option, and sure enough, it was.
Yeah, Suki and Jinder, I'm hoping, are going to survive next week so that I can laugh at them a lot.
Yeah.
But I think we knew this week was going to be a non-elimination with them going back to Canada next week. I didn't think they would end up doing it next week when they're back in Canada anyway.
Pete did have one golden moment this week where he said that Suki needs to chill because he's harshing his mellow and they're like a tornado of chaos. That is definitely the best moment he's had.
That is a pretty good description. Yeah, it's a pretty good description actually, because I can see how people find them annoying. I find them really charming and hilarious, but I don't think many.
Oh, and the cowboy music came up when Pierre shells the dancing task. That was the cowboy music I was referring to before.
All right. So next week we fly back to Canada after a 2-week break from the Great White North, and they return and fly to the Yukon, where the Express Pass must be given out, and teams face both dogs and guns to stay in the race. I think it's pretty much confirmed the roadblock will be the biathlon. And on the note of next week, we do have a question from my Reddit friend, Stephen Pittman, who says, which team do you think will receive the second Express Pass, causing the controversy? I mean, we talked a lot about Express Pass etiquette, what is the best thing to actually do with it. They're obviously not going to give it to Pierre and Michelle because they wouldn't have aired that VT without it, or if they had. I reckon it's going to be a team at the back, so it's probably going to be maybe Rex and Bob so they can quit another task, maybe Suki and Jinder so they can skip the speed bump, which would be hilarious, can I just point out, if they end up putting together an elaborate speed bump and then Suki and Jinder just skip it with the second Express Pass.
I was thinking Suki and Jinder too because they're the only other team that's shown begging for the Express Pass, and it makes sense if they finish last to be awarded it.
I mean, I'm pretty convinced it won't be Pierre and the Michelles, thanks to their slightly villainous edit that they seem to be getting, especially with them being equal to Mickey and Pete on average. Because the current rankings are Natalie and Megan in first, obviously, Cormac and Nicole in second, Ellen and Audrey in third, and then Pierre and Michelle and Mickey and Pete are equal fourth. Ryan and Rob and Rex and Bob are equal sixth. Equal sixth, and Suki and Jinder are now last, thanks to the good performance of both Ryan and Rob and Rex and Bob this week.
Do you think Jinder is a lion? Because he described himself as a lion.
If we could get
lion, and also I wrote from Mason Race 15.
If we can get Jinder roaring like a lion next week, I will be so impressed. They just need to ham up their dopiness a little bit for me. So yeah, that's it, I think.
I also liked John's unintentional pun with the non-elimination, saying that, oh, it's a non-elimination because luck is on your side, right after they did a casino task.
Yeah, that I sort of had a feeling.
And of course, he also had to make the pun that next week is an Express Pass power play.
They seem to be trying to steal Alan Wu's pun title with John a little bit.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I know it's not going to happen, but they seem to be trying at least. Which is fun to see, if nothing else. I love a good pun more than anything, so, I'm not exactly disappointed at any extra puns. Hello to Stephen as well, who's watching live. So, we we'll be back next Wednesday morning as normal for another episode of the Amazing Race Canada Recap Podcast, brought to you by the You Are Team Number Facebook group. And I must mention that from next week, we have a little spin-off. We have our good Malaysian friend Eamon, and he's going to be joined by two Australians, Michelle, and who joined us for the Amazing Race 23 recap, and Ben, to recap the Amazing Race Australia, which starts on 7 on Monday evening and on TV2 in New Zealand on Tuesday evening. I'm waiting on the day and time that they'll be doing that, but if you just follow us on Twitter, you'll find it. I will be watching myself and bothering them.
Yes, I should note that Ben has been a huge contributor for the blog behind the scenes. You can't really tell on the blog, and I can't really describe what he does on air here, but most of my Amazing Race blog cannot really exist without Ben's help. So he really knows his Amazing Race stuff too. So I would definitely tune in to hear him, Rochelle, and Eamon recap Amazing Race Australia.
They are all super friends of the podcast.
And sadly, they don't get to tell him, and he's the women on screen. So
yeah, and even better, you will get
it's their loss.
You'll get to find out what does the Malaysian ask every week. Because if you've been watching the Amazing Race 24 recaps, you'll probably know Eamon is a little bit of an off-topic fiend. He does love to drag the topic away and ask random questions. So it's worth tuning in just for that, really. I'll be tuning in. Thank you for watching. We will see you next Wednesday, 7 o'clock in the morning, PT, and 3 o'clock for me. Goodbye. And Logan's actually saying goodbye this week, which is nice.